Other people of the internet, my name is Udu Jagero and this is Political Headache. Today we are talking about a man who a lot of people have always thought would be a good president for this country. When he became the minister, I think whether it was CS then, CS for Education,
yes.
he sort of, a lot of people say that he sort of, played around with the education of this country and properly put on the right path. I am not sure about that, but immediately he was given more responsibility by His Excellency, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah.
Things started going haywire. I was talking to somebody here before this interview, and he was telling me that all these people that do this silly thing sometimes still just have a brain, the same brain. People have talked about Murkomen and the things that he says, and wondering, is this the Murkomen that was teaching law, or something has happened? Is this the person that was doing this and that? We don't understand what has happened, what has become of him. Today in the studio is Advice Mundalo. Mundalo is going to be helping me, talk about Matiangi,
yes,
the man, Fred Matiangi.
Yeah.
Immediately after the elections, where did Matiangi go?
Immediately after the election, I think we saw Matiangi on the screens. I think at some point the DCI were at his house. Whatever they were looking for has never come to the fore. We've never been told what was happening there. The next time we saw Matiangi was in the World Bank. Where
Did he actually work for the World Bank?
Yes, he's actually confirmed that himself on a previous TV interview that he had. Actually, he had even gone back to resign. Remember, he came, held some rally, then he went back and he said he has gone to now resign and focus on the agenda of running for president. So I think that is where Matiangi has been before he is now come back to seek the presidency of the country. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have talked about the presidential elections of 2027.
Yeah.
We have people that are claiming that Raila Odinga might vie. We have people that are saying that we might have Eugene Wamalwa.
Yeah.
Eugene Wamalwa, correct?
Yes.
We have people that are saying Kalonzo Musyoka. We have
Yes.
Raila Odinga. We have Martha Karua. We have so many of them.
Yeah.
Yes. When you think about 2027 and you think about Matiangi, what are you saying? What are you seeing?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
When I think about 2027 and then when I think about Matiangi, from an honest perspective, I think my view of Matiangi is that he is a gentleman who had quite a chance to actually become president of Kenya. But then when it comes to 2027, then my thinking might be a bit different. There was a time when the chance was so high. Remember during the Gen Z uprising of last year?
Yeah.
When his name was being floated all over social media. I think he had a very high chance of popularity at that time. I doubt the popularity is growing. I really think the popularity is going down. So I don't think he's as he was last year. And if it is 2 years to the next election, then you really want to imagine how bad he might be doing by the time we get to 2027. When you look at his track record, for instance, there are credits that we must be able to give to him. He switched off the television and moved us to digital, if you remember very well, from the analog to the digital. And remember, media owners really had a problem making that shift. Matiangi is credited to have been the person who did that. You look at what he did with the Ministry of Education. Again, he was able to be really credited with the matters of exams and exam cheating, and now there was sudden disappearance. Actually, the A's, you remember the A's disappearing from the scoreboard. Now, you can be able to see some of those things are what are credited for him, and most of the people really liked him for some of that. He also has his ills, the issues of the Ruaraka. He has some scandals that also bedevil his name.
What are those scandals?
The Ruaraka land scandal. We have also had the River Yala that he was being asked about it in a previous media interview. So these are both his ups and downs in regard to 2027. But the most important thing about the 2027 election, Jagero, is about becoming president of Kenya is a political process. And therefore, your politics must be top-notch. And that is where I think Matiangi has a problem. I do not see him carved out right for the politics of Kenya.
There is something that you're telling me about a specific candidate from from Luhyaland.
Yes.
Is it something that you can only speak of cameras, or you can, because I think it ties very much to what we are saying.
No. It is the reality. I was actually talking about Honorable Natembeya, and I was saying he has the popularity today, and he's on the top of the popularity cadre in terms of the politicians from the Western region. But that populism alone will not move him to the next level. He now needs strategy. He needs to put together a strategy on how he then handles his politics. Yeah, that is not something I can only speak off camera. It's the reality, and that is the reality also. When you look at the candidature of Honorable Matiang'i, he also lacks a strategy that can be able to move him to the next level. You look at, as a candidate, Jagero, you have to ask yourself, what is your biggest strength? And so when you look at Matiang'i, Jagero, what is his biggest strength? Why were the people saying that they want him to be president? The first thing is that at the time of the Gen Z uprising, they looked at him as a person who is non-partisan. They looked at him as a person who helps us deal with the question of the tribal politics. That was one of the biggest strengths. That's why at the time, he was extremely popular. It was not even, he had not even announced. But then, when he came back to the country, he actually was pulled into this tribal politics by the associations that he had with the likes of Rigathi Gachagua, and he accepted to be pushed by Rigathi, who kept saying that we must know whether your region is with you. And then he went now to becoming a Kisii candidate. He went to try and consolidate the Kisii. At that level, I think he started losing the young people, because that is where his biggest test on tribal and ethnic politics was. Now, when he did that, he became a normal politician. So he lost one of his biggest strengths because he had a strength, and one of his strengths was that he can cut across as a person who is this non-tribal candidate. But when he refocused and rewired his politics
when you say,
back to the region,
when you say that he rewired himself back to the Kisii region,
yes,
where Maraga also is coming from, what are the specific things that he did to try and solidify his Kisii base? What did he do? A press conference? Did he go and do a rally there? What exactly did he do? And then the other question is, what did he want from Gachagua? Why was he gravitating towards Gachagua? So that Gachagua would tell him that, look, go back to your people and let us know whether they are with you. What exactly happened?
That's what I'm telling you, Jagero. When Matiang'i came back, he did a homecoming. He called it a homecoming.
Yes. And
where did he do the homecoming? He did the homecoming in the Kisii region.
Okay.
So there was the large rally in the Kisii region, as if to say, here comes the son of Kisii, who is now wanting the blessing of the Kisii community to go out there and seek the presidency of Kenya. Now, that became normal politics. That's what all politicians do. Now, that's what I'm saying. He lost it on his strength, because his strength was that he was above that. But then he came and started with that.
And your understanding is that this is after being pushed several steps back by Gachagua.
Exactly.
And this is why now he comes up with the idea of homecoming, and to start his journey from Kisii.
To start his journey from Kisii.
But the question also that I am trying to understand is, even for Gachagua himself, how many voters do we have in Kisii?
Kisii voters about 2 million.
2 million, that's a sizable number.
Yes. It's a sizable number. But you see, what I'm trying to make you understand, Jagero, is the strength of Matiang'i is not necessarily the strength of Rigathi Gachagua. Gachagua's strength is in the tribal arithmetic. Matiang'i's strength is not in the tribal arithmetic.
Explain.
If anything, even that number of the Kisii is not even large enough to make you president, after all. Matiang'i's strength was people who were looking at him from a universal lens. They were not looking at Matiang'i with the tribal lens. And that's why he needed to rise above the tribal lens, come and make himself a national candidate. But the moment he accepted the narrative of the political class that pushes everyone to a region, he became a normal politician. The moment he becomes a normal politician, he starts being judged using normal lens. And now today, people start asking him how many Kisiis are registered as voters. Who do you now need to combine with? That is something that he did not have when he was coming. He was actually a person who would cut across. So that was one major strength. And I was telling you about the second strength of Matiang'i that he had is people who want a Matiang'i presidency look at him as a worker, as this person who is no nonsense, as this person who can be able to push through the wall and get things done. Now, when you look at the interview that he gave Citizen TV, when he had a sit down with one of the journalists, that image did not again come out, because most of the answers, most of the questions, he was giving very generalized answers. He was not looking like the bulldozer that the person who wants him wants that image out of him. He didn't come out as strong, especially even by the fact that that interview in itself was a pre-recorded interview, meaning it was not a live interview. It was not a live conversation. It is something that was pre-recorded. When he was being asked even the fundamental questions about issues of the controversies, the Ruraka land, issues of the River Yala, and he's saying we need to form a commission, an inquiry. You see, the normal voter, Jagero, that is not the language that wins you a vote. Because when you are looking for votes, you need the language of the vote. Now, that is not the language of the vote. How many Kenyans, Jagero, can really tell you what an inquiry even means?
No.
People wanted him to be abrasive.
But it is also very interesting, Mr. Mundalo, because he has always been very hard-hitting. I remember the first time that I sat close to him when he was giving a very fiery speech. It's just just before the elections.
Yeah.
You know, when he said that we cannot allow these thugs to rule this country.
Exactly.
You know, it was somewhere in Westlands. And it was very forceful and very authoritative.
Yes.
In the way he was talking. And even over the duration of his CS, when he was doubling as the CS of Interior and something else.
Yes, Interior National Coordination.
National Coordination.
Yes.
He has always been a very forthright guy.
Yes.
But I was so shocked when I looked at that interview because he could not even maintain eye contact.
Yes.
With the person that was talking with him.
He went very low and dismissed the strengths that he's supposed to have, because that was not able to come out. Actually, in that interview, Jagero, I think Matiangi lost more votes than he created, because people wanted someone, that person that you've just described, someone forceful, someone who can push through the wall. And that is the image of the person of Matiangi that the Gen Z, when they were saying in the June 25th of last year, that is the image they were busy saying that is what we want. Now he lost it at that level. So you can be able to see that he is really reducing himself into a normal politician, because people wanted him above board. The Kenyans were feeling like we are now tired with all the politicians. Can we now have a person who is not from the political class? And to them, Matiangi felt like that person who can be said to be away from the political class, a person who can rise above both the government and opposition politics and be that uniting factor of a new Kenya, of a new dawn. Unfortunately, he morphed into becoming one of the usuals. He even made it worse when he started now having this working arrangement with Rigathi Gachagua and the folks in the opposition. That just moved him into a normal politician, and that's why you see Jagero, politics and messaging, political messaging is about the sound bites, the bites of what you are able to speak. Now, if you put Matiangi and Rigathi together, you know where we will get the bites. Now, the one with the bites carries the news. Now, the one who carries the news rides above the rest. The moment Matiangi put himself in this same category of people, then, of course, the light of the politics, once he's together with people like Gachagua, it moves away from him, and the light shades more on Rigathi Gachagua. You're able to see when they were having the rallies in the Western Kenya, and Honorable Matiangi had joined in on those rallies. The news would barely make points of what he said. Most of the news was actually about Rigathi Gachagua. In fact, Rigathi Gachagua was a more headlining factor than even the leaders from Western Kenya. And that was the reality. That simply shows you that for Matiangi, his nature of politics and his nature of leadership and governance is extremely different from these folks. Because you don't expect Matiangi to stand up and, for instance, and start insulting people. You don't expect him to stand up and start moving ethnic-based narratives. Yeah? So because of that, he needed to be somewhere away from these people so that he can carve a new path. But the moment he is with them and he's with the people in the normal political orchestra, he needs to behave like them. And that becomes very difficult for him.
At this point, I want to sound very tribal.
Yeah.
Because when you continue talking about Matiangi and talking about Matiangi and talking about Matiangi, why, for somebody who has not heard you say the name, why wouldn't they think that you're talking about Maraga? Because Ochoka, whenever this guy is talking about Matiangi, without mentioning the name, he sounds exactly as if he was talking about Maragua. Would you agree to that statement?
I don't think I would agree to that statement, though it's not very far-fetched, because you see, and that is also the problem.
Because Maraga will not stand up and assault people and insult anybody.
Yes.
Maraga will not stand up and talk about anything tribal. Maraga will not stand up and make sound bites. So then, you're talking, and you're saying the same of Matiangi, who is his tribesman.
Yes.
So is this about tribe? Or, because
No.
Can we go back a little bit? Can we go back? We put Matiangi and Maraga out of the picture.
Okay.
And bring in Nyachai. Do you remember Nyachai?
I remember Nyachai.
Do you remember Nyachai?
Yes.
Nyachai was also not very powerful.
Yes.
He was not also very forthright. As a matter of fact, word in the street is that he was supposed to be the one who should have been declared Nyachai Tosha in place of Kibaki.
In 2002.
In 2002.
Yeah.
But that did not happen. And perhaps Raila Odinga was looking at it and saying, who is going to sell us to the people of Kenya? And it is basically not Nyachai. Well, you can't tell Raila Odinga whatever he was given because the man likes the fat of rams.
Your words.
Kwani you can't say that Raila likes the fat of rams?
I've never witnessed.
So anyway, this is what I'm thinking. Is this sort of a tribal thing
There's a bit of a difference, Jagero.
What difference?
The difference is here. Nyachai had risen above the ranks in the political sphere to get to the top, where he was now like the Kisii spokesperson per se. Is the same position that Kalonzo has with the Kamba. The kingpin, we call them kingpins here in Kenya.
And
now,
when you say that Nyachai was a kingpin, I'm wondering because this is a guy that was being pushed around by Moiv too much. And if we look at who was giving this guy the platform to be forthright, was Uhuru Kenyatta. So we have Uhuru Kenyatta and we have Moi on the other side. Moi was almost putting Nyachai on a pedestal, and Uhuru was always putting Matiangi on a pedestal.
And this is what I'm telling you, there is a bit of a difference. The difference is that Nyachai was from the political leadership.
Okay.
Yeah, he was an elected person. Yeah, he had risen through the political ranking, the same as Kalonzo Musyoka, who has now risen through the political ranks to become a kingpin of the region. The same as Raila Odinga, the same as the Moses Wetangulas and Musalia Mudavadi. They are political leaders. Matiangi came from an administrative perspective.
Okay.
So Matiangi was not like Nyachai. Matiangi is this person who was put in position, and Kenyans loved him for his administrative uniqueness at the time. It just so happened that he comes from Kisii. That is the difference. He was not there because he's a Kisii. It just so happened that he comes from Kisii. And that's why when he comes to run for president, he had a lot of embrace from a national scale that was not necessarily tribal. And that's what I'm saying. He committed his first mistake when he accepted and he ate the bite to reduce himself into a tribal candidate who can now be able to be pushed by tribe. Because the moment he did that, then he becomes a normal candidate. He becomes like Kalonzo Musyoka. He becomes like Rigathi Gachagua. He becomes like every other candidate who has to be looked at from the lens of what are your numbers. Have you been able to bring enough numbers? And the moment it goes to that level, then he loses the advantage. Because the moment it goes tribal, he doesn't have advantage. Because even in itself, and if he consolidates his region, there are not as many. You can't compare him to Gachagua, who would be consolidating maybe 6 million votes, to this one who would be consolidating about 2 million votes. So already that arithmetic is disadvantageous to him. And the people in the opposition wanted it so. So that once they reduce this thing to everyone consolidating the region, then when it comes to the counting of who has the numbers, you and me know that obviously in the opposition, who will win in terms of who has the numbers? Because it will be an obvious that Rigathi Gachagua is the one with the numbers. So the conversation then will have to be centered around this person as the one who should be the presidential candidate. And if not him, then the next person would be the one with the numbers there, would be Kalonzo Musyoka. So you can see Matiangi comes somewhere distant. And that's what I'm saying. He made the mistake of reducing himself to that. He needed to remain the candidate of the country. And that is where he, in my view, politically.
Yes, I somehow agree with you. But the question then that arises is, and I want you right now to get into Matiangi's head.
Yeah.
You know?
Let me get into it.
Yes, and asking the question, why was Matiangi deciding to gravitate towards the opposition leaders? What did he want? Did he want to be announced the flag bearer? Did he so that Musalia Mudavadi, the guy from
Kalonzo Musyoka, yes,
and Martha Karua and all the rest of them, could say that, well, we think that you're the one who can lead us. Yeah. Was that what he was going to get from trying to get from these people?
I think that is what he was trying to get, which in my view was wrong. Him trying to gravitate towards the opposition for an endorsement was wrong. He had risen above them. So it is the opposition that needed to gravitate towards Matiangi. But then he ate the bite, gravitated towards them, and that's what I'm telling you. He then became a normal politician. Now, from the lens of a normal politician, he is greatly disadvantaged. I also think that he suffers the burden of a lot of people misadvising him, because I don't think he has put around him an infrastructure of people that are intellectual and independent thinking. I think that he has people around him who are also just reacting to the normal politics. The people who would be able to tell you, you need the opposition. You see, there is a way, politics has an emotion, Jagero. And sometimes there is an emotional environment that you can get into.
What do you mean politics needs an emotions?
I'm saying politics has an emotion.
Yeah.
Because, Jagero, when you surround yourself with people who believe a certain narrative, they will infiltrate it in you. That emotion will get into you. Because if you wake up every day and people are telling you that, we need to work with these people, we need to work with Rigathi, he has the numbers. You see, they keep showing you everything that he's saying. It soon gets into you, then you can be able to start making mistakes. That's why I kept feeling like, even the interview that he had, I think it is someone who, again, misadvised him from getting himself out of the image of the Matiangi that the voter is used to this new... I think they thought they were selling him as sober-minded or something like that. But that is not the person that the voter who wants him was actually looking for. And that's why, for me, it is his candidature, for me, is more or less a dead on arrival, per se, because it is going downwards and not going upwards. If you listen today, keenly, Jagero, the conversation about the presidency of this country today is largely and heavily about President William Ruto, Honorable Raila Odinga, and Rigathi Gachagua. So then the rest are becoming...
Rigathi Gachagua is not going to be on the ballot, is he?
That is debatable, Jagero, because you don't know.
Tell me a little bit about it, because there is an active court case, correct?
Yes, there's an active court case. There's an active court case about his impeachment. So the imagination is, some people would imagine that if in the event that the court says that his impeachment was unprocedural and illegal, then it disqualifies the impeachment, and therefore he gets eligibility to run
for presidency.
Yes, but also on another scale, you also have to understand that the running in 2027 might not necessarily be a legal question, but also a political question, depending on the question of when he runs, who does he advantage and who does he disadvantage. And at that level, then it can also become a politically decided case. So for me, that's what I'm telling you. The conversation today, you are seeing now.
I feel like you are skirting around that. Why are you skirting around that? I think you are skirting around that. Tell us.
Am I skirting really?
Yeah, you are skirting. You are not telling us what happens if he has got his 6 million in his pocket at the ballot.
Yeah, because I'm simply telling you that. In the event that, because you remember, I've kept saying, the process of getting to be president is a political process. Yeah? And so the question we need to ask ourselves is, politically, when Rigathi Gachagua runs, who does it advantage and who does it disadvantage? Yeah? If he is lucky that his running becomes the advantage of the current president, he might just be lucky enough to run. But in the event it is disadvantageous, then definitely
So then when you know my next question then, how does it become disadvantageous and how does it become advantageous to Ruto?
Let me ask you, Jagero, in the event that we are sure that the whole of Mount Kenya, 6 million votes, will not vote for President William Ruto, then which one is a better arithmetic? Are you better letting him have his votes or allowing him have his votes added to others?
I think it's the question is not considerate to other factors.
What factors?
Because if assuming that he runs and he picks, let's say, Kalonzo Musyoka to be the running mate.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm just wondering, yeah, that and then it's a bit tough for him because then if then what does he promise? Let's say Matiang'i and say that Matiang'i, if we take this thing, you bring your guys along.
You need to get it, Jagero, that most of the people, even those who support Rigathi Gachagua, are very supportive of him for as long as he is not running for president. Now, the moment he becomes the candidate, then his support base is really reduced to a fraction of only probably Mount Kenya. His running mate of a person, for example, like the one you're saying, like Kalonzo Musyoka, it cannot excite the people of the eastern region because it's not news. How many times has Kalonzo been running mate? He's been there very many times. The only exciting factor to that region is if he is the candidate.
I hope that you are enjoying that episode, people of the internet. You know, everybody says there is no job, and that is true. Also, that was me 10 years ago. The problem is that everybody is trying to get a job in their own town, in their own city, in their marketplace. They ask friends for jobs, mothers call uncles, uncles call fathers, but there are no jobs, right? Let me tell you what no one is telling you. Jobs migrated online. What I actually mean is there are many, many jobs around the world and there is no one to do them. I have worked for a long time online, I think more than 10 years. I work for Americans, I work for Europeans, I work for the Chinese, the Australian, Canadians, the Ugandans, name all of them. And last year, I had a eureka moment. I said to myself, you know what? I should compile what I have been doing for the last 15 years. So in 2024, I wrote a book called Gold Mine, 18 Side Hustles for Africans. And it sold a lot of copies. In fact, I was going for, sometimes I was receiving 500 orders in a day. In 2025, something happened. AI came. I think in 2025, AI came. AI came in 2024, but in 2025, it is here with us. And people say AI is taking away their jobs. And for me, I'll say false. There are actually AI jobs. Now, mimi ni nani? I created more jobs. We now have in my book 25 online and offline side hustles that you can do anywhere in the world, whether you are in the village, whether you are in your small town, whether you're in a marketplace, whether you are in your house, you can do them. In this powerful volume 2, I share 25 new actionable online hustles specifically researched and tailored for Africans. My new book provides clear step-by-step guidance, drawing from my extensive experience and research, including the mistakes I have made and lessons I have learned over 15 years in this online job market. You can become an executive assistant to busy folks in Europe, America, and Canada. You can also get paid for tasks like watching videos and taking online surveys. There are many of them and they're in my book. You can also build a business as a virtual assistant, start an e-commerce without a shilling. You can also become an affiliate marketer or an online English tutor. And you can also do tens of AI jobs, and they're all in these books. If you have a job, that is fine. But I know around you there are so many people that are always looking for jobs and at home watching Netflix. Buy this book for your brother, for your sister, for your mother, cousin, husband, who is back at home all day, all night watching Netflix. Okay? Buy it for your friends. That friend who is always asking you for cash, you can buy this book for them. All the information is in the description below. You can also inbox me, you can WhatsApp me, or you can go to my website, which is oduorjagero.co.ke. The book is only 1,000 Kenya shillings. Or if you're anywhere around the world, the book is $10. So thank you very much. Back to programming. Let's get then to the hard facts.
Yeah.
So Rigathi Gachagua is standing to be president, deputized by Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes.
Okay, and then Raila Odinga is standing as a president, and Ruto is standing as a president. How does the arithmetic look for you?
First of all, that arithmetic in itself, the first analogy that you make is almost dead on arrival, because I don't really foresee a situation whereby Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka would really deputize Rigathi Gachagua. It is political, even the experience. You look at the political experience of Kalonzo Musyoka is way higher. Kalonzo Musyoka has...
anything can happen in politics.
Yes, anything, not
Mr.
everything.
Mundalo,
Not everything.
But that's a thing.
Not everything, because the political experience of Kalonzo.
Let's theorize.
But now, let us theorize the way
let's theorize.
You've put it.
Yeah.
If you theorize it that way, first of all, the percentage of the vote that ticket of Rigathi and Kalonzo gets is very limited, probably just within the mountain region. Because
so you could put it at 5 million votes.
There is no... Barely. I don't think it could hit 5 million, because even the people in the mountain region who really like Gachagua, most of them, maybe half of them, are not willing to vote for him as president. They are willing for him to just be a kingmaker. They are willing for him to show them who needs to be president. They are not willing for him to be the candidate.
Why?
So that is the
why? Why would they not be willing to have him as king?
Yeah, because you can be able to see the conversations, Jagero, and I'm sure you are online and you see what they're able to say.
Yeah.
Most of them do not feel like he is presidential material.
Okay.
Yeah, how presidential material looks like is something you can ask them. But they feel like he's not presidential material. So in that event, then when you have Raila Odinga will always have a solid, his solid support base. It might have dwindled a bit by now, but if the arithmetic is to go that way, then I still think... he will come.
Who will be number one? Who will be number two? Who will be number three?
President Ruto will be number one.
With his Rift Valley votes?
Because you see, President Ruto has not just the Rift Valley votes. Yeah? He has a new generation of a voter. This voter who is interested in the work. And give it to him, every other day that you listen to him, he's been very insistent on the things that government is doing. Now, away from the tribal vote, he's going to also get this vote of the people who are interested in the work. Like the bridge that he was talking about, was it yesterday? That bridge that is being done. No, that's a bridge that has not been done since independence.
Which bridge is it?
So is it called the Nithi Bridge or something?
Yeah.
Yeah? The Nithi Bridge in Tharaka Nithi, I think. So those are people who, that would be a very monumental project to them. Yeah, it will be a project that is so personal to them. It will not just be about the politics as usual then. So we have that caliber of people who are looking keenly and feeling like, but this president has been able to do this and this and this. So he has that category away from the normal. And two, most of the people who might not be interested in President William Ruto today, when you give them those two alternatives that you have just proposed, Rigathi and Raila, they will go back to President Ruto. They'll feel like it's just better to have, because which direction is this? Because the normal, that normal thinking Kenyan who wants to be level-headed would want to look at it and ask himself, Rigathi Gachagua, not really. And they would be able to go back. They'll feel like it's better this one. We've been able to see what he's been able to do. So that arithmetic, in my view, the only problem is, would it be a 50+1? That would might be a challenge in terms of would it be a 50+1. That might be a challenge. But in terms of who would lead, I really tend to think on that front, President Ruto will actually be able to lead that pack from the front.
And then you think Raila would be number 2?
I would think
Rigathi number 2.
I would think Rigathi would be number 2 probably. Yeah.
And that pits them against each other in the runoff.
Yeah. And now you can be able to
How
see...
does the runoff play?
You can be able to now see, because then the runoff is really decided by the person who is number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then now you can be able to see. Exactly. Because in using your analogy, and I'm telling you, President Ruto would be number 1, Rigathi would be number 2, Raila would be number 3. Now, who would this number 3 then in the run of support? Is Raila more likely to support Ruto or Rigathi? And then we know who will actually win that election. It is a very simple arithmetic. So Jagero, you can be able to see at that level, we are already not having a conversation around the Matiangi candidature. And that is now why I've told you that he has a big disadvantage. Because you can see, even for your own analogy, you cannot be able to put him within the analogy. That is how badly he's doing.
Yeah, but you see now the other factor that I've always wondered about Matiangi. Because if you were once a very forthright person, somebody that who can shake a stage, you stand up to speak and everybody want to listen.
Yeah.
Then suddenly you nosedive into this, meek person that instead of going and talking about the things that he wants to do for this country. Because I have a feeling that Matiangi sort of have an idea of how this country moves forward economically, even health-wise, even educationally. But then something has happened to Matiangi where Matiangi is very wishy-washy.
Yeah, extremely. Probably Jagero.
And
maybe
the wishy-washy part of Matiangi is sort of very interesting.
Yeah.
And the reason why I keep saying that his wishy-washiness is very interesting is that this is a very forthright person. This is a man who comes with his presence.
Yeah.
Then suddenly his government, the government that he served, that had the support of the Right Honorable former Prime Minister, I don't know whether it's former Prime Minister or you just remember Prime Minister, the Prime Minister, and then they were talking really tough.
Yeah.
Then suddenly when they realizes that this thing is the fat of ram is being cutted away by a gentleman that they thought would not have it, then he sort of just goes into darkness. That's what happened to Matiangi. We did not hear about Matiangi. We did not see him once the money was collected from his...
Again, your words. Again, you see.
So, I don't know, but people say that he had some notes. I don't know about the notes. I didn't see them. Okay. But then he comes back, and honestly, I don't know what Matiangi wants. Honestly, I don't know what Matiangi wants. Matiangi was given a podium,
yes,
on Citizen to speak about the things that he wants to do for this country. He could not speak. What Matiangi did was to defend himself.
Yeah.
Against things that he's being accused of.
Yes.
And this is why I don't like. He's such a non-starter. He's not a spin doctor. And this is one of the reasons why I really like William Ruto.
Yes.
When that guy's, you can't corner him.
Exactly. You see.
And I think as a politician, you should come with your presence. And that's why sometimes I feel like this guy looks like a Ruto project.
I think probably Jagero, maybe Matiangi is very good as an instruction taker.
Okay.
And not an instruction giver. Because look at the image he carved out as cabinet secretary. And you and me agree that he was very different.
Yeah.
He was able to be very abrasive. But probably maybe it was just President Uhuru Kenyatta who made him look the way he did.
Okay.
Because he took instructions and just executed. And probably when he is now on his own and he must be able to now carve out an image of his own, he then does not know then how to go about it.
A good civil servant.
Yeah, he's a proper civil servant. Probably he should be given a cabinet slot in this government or next.
In Gachagwa's government.
No, I don't foresee Gachagwa's government. Yeah, because he does not carve out quite an image of a person who was the way he was. Today he's wishy-washy. He does not necessarily inspire the confidence in the voter who really wanted him. Because the voter who wanted Matiangi, he also forgets that the voter who also started proclaiming his name was a very young voter. Because it was the Gen Z that started saying, on 25th of last year, when they started talking about alternatives, and it was very different that in a revolution of young people, the name that they would put forward was not one of their young people. It was actually Matiangi. So he needed to come and fit into that shoe. How do you fit into that shoe? It is from even an imaging and branding perspective. How do you look? Are you appealing to the young people? So when you look at Matiangi Jagero, even from how he looks, from how you looked at his interview, from how you look at his dress code, does he appeal to the young people? Can you compare him with President William Ruto? Can you really? Yes. Can you compare those two? Your words again, not mine. So, because you
need to have a tailor. Bro, you need to have a tailor.
Because you see, again, the young people need someone that can really inspire them in all aspects. Yeah. And the vote is about things even as simple as just your dress code. Some people, Jagero, just vote for people because they have a nice billboard. Sometimes the voter just votes for you because you see them often talking about Sakaja and Dimples.
Yeah.
So we have so many reasons why, and so you cannot be able to let one of the reasons slide away. Yeah, he needs to really remember that who was the person who kept proclaiming him? It was a young person. But then, are you looking appealing for the young person? If you really put up a billboard of Fred Matiangi and President William Ruto, who will the young person be more attracted to from just an appeal perspective? So we both know the answer, Jagero. So those are the things that he has really lost in terms of just putting up his candidature out there. He's been very insistent on being very, you call it wishy-washy. I'm wishing I had a different name that would be better than that. Because people are not feeling the person
because even when he went to the United States on the sidelines of Rigathi Gachagwa's tour, and I listened to his 40-something minute speech. I couldn't figure out. Even if you were to make a cut for social media,
where is it?
You can't make.
Yeah, he has no bites. He has no bites. And that's why I started by telling you, as politician of the stature of running for a presidential office, you must be able to have bites. You must be the people that is media friendly. The media wants a person who has bits and pieces of things that can be able to move quickly. Now he doesn't have that. That appeal is lacking in him. And now he's becoming a Maraga. The only reason why...
Going back to what I was telling you,
the only reason why I would excuse Maraga more than I would excuse Matiangi is because what is Maraga's strength? The voter who wants to vote for Maraga needs him as he is.
Okay.
The only problem is that there are not as many. That is the only problem.
The Gen Z is voting for Maraga.
Who told you? And probably, but then you look at the image, the people. Why would someone want to vote for Maraga? Why would someone want Maraga? Because of that nature of person he is. So it's not like he needs to change into anything else. So he is exactly
what the voter wants.
What his voter wants him to be. But Matiangi is not the person that his voter wants to be. I think the only mistake with Maraga for me is the fact that when he said about 1 million, it now brought him out as an unserious candidate. Yeah, because you see, the voter must also see your sacrifice. The voter must also see
1 million, 2 million is not a sacrifice enough?
It depends on who is speaking it, Jagero. If it was a person who has no money like me, it would be a sacrifice. But we are talking about a person who has been a judge, a magistrate. We are talking about a person who has been Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. We are talking about a person who is paid to this day. Because as a former Chief Justice, he's still paid up to this day. We are talking about a person who still enjoys the security of the state. Yeah? A person who still has some of his staff paid by the state. So honestly speaking, what is the salary of a Chief Justice?
You told me last time it was 600,000.
No. A Chief Justice earns above $1 million. So,
yeah, but in retirement.
In retirement, he still gets something maybe close to 600 or even more. So you can be able to see that the voter also wants to see the sacrifice that you've put in as a candidate. Because honestly, all the sacrifice cannot be on the back of the voter. Remember, when you become president, we must also remember that presidency is a job, Jagero. It's a job. So the person who will be earning a salary from that job is you. So why would you want your sacrifice to be the least, and yet you are the person who is going to benefit the most from the job? Because before you do anything else for Kenyans, Jagero, as president, it's a job. You are employed. You have a pay slip, right? So before we talk about what you're going to do, you first of all have a job. So in my view, that element of him saying that all he can be able to raise is 1 million shillings was something that portrayed him more as a non-serious candidate, or a person who maybe just wants to also... And that's why you saw the contributions were not as much.
Was the question necessary?
You cannot tell journalists what to ask you, Jagero. I'm here seated with you. I cannot determine what to ask me, including the one you've just asked whether the question was necessary. I would also ask, was this question to me necessary? So you can't determine. So the question he was asked about, I think it was necessary because it's about campaign financing.
Yeah.
And campaign financing is a hurdle that we've kept talking about in this country, where we are talking about the election is too expensive, and that's why sometimes corruption has to be there and all that. But then he needed a more watertight answer. He is not. It would be a good answer if it came from a young candidate. Yeah. For instance, if it was like Mundalo running for president, and he said, all I can raise is 1 million shillings, the voter would be able to see that I'll be sacrificing because Jagero would give me 20,000, my brothers here would be giving me 10,000. And you see, that would come as a sacrifice, because you cannot be able to say I have been Chief Justice before, I have not earned 1 million before. But this is a gentleman who has earned 1 million for over 10 years. And he's telling you, and he's telling you that is all he can actually raise. I think that did not really.
He's somebody who can actually use his salary for the next 10 years, for the next 18 months. He can actually put all his salary into the kitty of his presidential candidature.
Exactly, and people would be able to see.
And he will still survive.
People would be able to see.
You also forgot that he had a law firm.
Exactly. I didn't want to go too far. Because this is a person who had a law firm.
Yeah.
He's been a magistrate. He's been judge. He's been Chief Justice. Honestly, Jagero. And we're talking about a country where most of the young people today are struggling with unemployment. These young people who are struggling with unemployment that are expected to again finance the campaign of a person who has been employed for the last 30 years.
More.
Or even more. So you see, it does not. For me, it looked more like dancing on the graves of struggling Kenyans.
Yeah, but have you imagined his campaign trail, how it looks?
I've imagined that campaign trail, maybe a Toyota Wish. If you're talking about a campaign budget of 1 million shillings, Jagero, for a national campaign.
He's not going to allow to be campaigning but he has got cars that he's been given by the government post-retirement.
Yes.
And fueled by the government.
Yeah, fueled by the government. So that's the kind of person we are actually talking about. Because sometimes, Jagero, for us to help Kenyans make the right decisions, we have to put everything in context so that the normal voter is able to understand the candidate and how the nomenclature of the candidate and the infrastructure around the candidate. So that you're not just saying, this one is just popular for no, the people must understand that this is a former Chief Justice. And as a former Chief Justice, this is what he enjoys. He enjoys government security. He enjoys this. He enjoys that. His car is fueled by government. We have to understand it that far. So that when we are talking about contributing for him, we get the context. Because some people would be contributing for Maraga out there, but it's also out of naivety because they really just think, no, it's just another person like the rest of us and whatever. And I have no problem with anyone contributing for anybody. But I just... all I'm saying is we have to understand it in context, so that when we get context, we know what we are. So that later on, we don't start being bitter and getting annoyed after we know the facts later.
You said that the contribution did not amount to much.
Yeah, they did amount. I think it was 48 hours later, and it was about 500,000. When Kenyans mean contribution, you know what they do. You see what when people like Eric Omondi are doing. You are able to see what happened with the issue of Ojwang. you're able to see the nature of contribution. That the fact that it was beyond 48 hours and that was the contribution, it needed to show him that Kenyans are feeling like this is not very genuine.
This is not very genuine.
Yeah, this is not very genuine. He needed to, and he also needs to make his point in terms of why exactly does he need to be president? Because those are the conversations we are supposed to have. Because
does he have his cheat sheet out? Manifesto.
He doesn't have his manifesto out. Most of what I see him talk about is rule of law. He keeps saying rule of law. But in my view, like, rule of law is what we expect you to execute as Chief Justice. Now, as president, this is now president, yeah? And you cannot be able to claim the presidency of the country just because you annulled a presidential election. Because I feel like that is his biggest raise to glory. Like, the biggest reason why even the voter of Maraga feels is so different.
Something that is basically his work.
Yeah, that was basically duty, yeah? And we cannot be able to reward you with the presidency because you annulled a presidential election.
Or because
we need a plan.
Your duties.
Yeah, because those were just your duties.
Yeah.
So we need you to tell the country how are you going to deal with the young people's unemployment problem. We need you to tell the country how are you going to deal with the health issues in the country. We need you to tell the country what will be your relations with other governments. We need you to tell the country things that are about a president. Yeah, and that is what I need the people to understand, because most of the time we are making fundamental decisions such as choosing a president on the whims of emotions and social media trends. So you end up voting someone just because of some sneak peek you saw on Instagram or TikTok, and you said the person annulled a presidential election. If you annulled that, the presidential election is already over. When you become president, your job is no longer to annul a presidential election. So we must vote on the basis of what are you planning then to do? And that is what all these candidates are supposed to be showing Kenyans. Unfortunately, most of these candidates today, Jagero, are not talking about what they plan to do as president, because it is the hardest conversation to have. Everyone is only talking about what the current president is not doing. That is the thing. And that's why when you push them towards what will you do, they want to run away from that conversation. Yeah, when you look at Rigathi Gachagua, all he's talking about is Mlima and one term. The conversation about what you will do is not there. It's neither here nor there. He does not want to have that conversation because it is a complex thing. You need to have a plan. People will ask you very fundamental questions. When you talk about you'll make healthcare better, we will ask you, how will you make it better? When you talk about the challenge of unemployment, we will ask you, how do you plan to solve it? Because the problem with most of us in Kenya is that we vote the person who understands the problem, not the person who knows the solution. And yet all of us know the problem. Who doesn't know that there's an unemployment problem in Kenya today? All of us are aware. But someone running for president will come and tell you that there's an unemployment problem, and then you'll be excited and feel like he's intelligent. He's not intelligent. This is the common. What you should be telling us is, what are you going to do about it? That is what sets you apart. Don't just tell us that this SHA is not working. This SHA by this government is bad. Tell us what is your alternative so that we are able to have a comparison. The moment Kenyans start looking at their leaders that way, the moment we start voting from a point of comparison, from a point of knowing what you plan to do, trust me, we'll get better quality leadership. But the moment we keep voting the person who chants the problem the most, then our problems are far from over.
You are a political commentator and a political strategist. How do you make Matiangi the president? Who do you want to make president?
I would make president the one who pays me.
How do you make Matiangi the president?
If I were to working for Matiangi Jagero, first of all, I would rebrand him. So that, number one, he needs to look more appealing to the young people, because the person who shouted his name the highest, the loudest, was actually the young person. He used to appeal to that. Number two, I would take Matiangi to being who the Matiangi that was, so that he starts appealing to the voter, because Matiangi is not appealing to the voter. Yeah, he's operating as though we will get a president through a boardroom. Like, we'll have a boardroom conversation and get a president. Yeah, he needs to start speaking to the voter, and he needs to start speaking solutions. What is his plan? Because the conversation as it is today, Jagero, the 2027 election, love it or not, will be heavily determined by what is your plan? And what do you intend to do? Why would it be so? Because the current president has anchored a lot of energy on the issues of the plan and what you need to do and what you're doing. Every day, that is what he is telling the people.
I like the pressure that Ruto is having.
Yeah.
The pressure, perhaps is the most pressured president in the history of this country.
I tend to also think so. He's been under a lot of pressure, which is actually good for country, because we need leaders to be put under pressure to perform. And that's why, because of that same pressure, every day you listen to the president, you see him talking about the thing. He does not miss a chance to speak about what is being done.
I really love the optics that he did during the Chan tournament.
The Chan tournament.
I genuinely really loved it.
And that's what I'm telling you, Jagero. It is going to be about when you're talking about sports, this is what President Ruto has done. He's been able to make Chan possible in Kenya.
Yeah.
He's been able to even motivate the players to levels that have never been done before. So when you are running against him...
1 million jamaa.
Yes. Because this is a player who is going to the field, Jagero, and he knows for every score that we are going to make, for every win, we are going to get 1 million shillings. That kind of motivation for the sports men and women has not happened since independence.
Is that so?
It hasn't happened. Tell me when. President, this is a motivation that is directly to the pocket of the sports people. So when you are coming then to run as president, as Matiangi or as Maraga, the Kenyan wants to know, how will you make that better? And that's why I'm telling you that in 2027, we will have a very good number of Kenyans who are going to look at this plan and its implementation. Because not every Kenyan is interested in the politics and the tribes.
Yeah.
We have Kenyans who really are honestly interested in work and having the work done. And those people will be able to analyze the work of this government on record in terms of what have they actually been able to do. Now, in the event that this government will have deliverables that can be sold at that time, for you to be able to run against them, then you need such a serious plan to counter their plan. This election of 2027 might have very little to do with tribes. So we must be able, yes, so somebody must be able to move the conversation. For you to run against President Ruto, you need to tell the people, what are you going to do about education? When President Ruto says he has been able to employ 76,000 teachers, which is our highest number since independence.
But he took away free primary education.
You must be able to now tell the people. And President Ruto, he did not take away free education. What he said is...
He did?
No.
What did he do?
What he did is he made us realize that we've been living a lie.
That?
Because we've been, Jagero, all through, we have been having trouble with our universities. Every other time, we have always had the issue of universities cannot afford this, and we have always wondered why. Yeah. So President Ruto came out and opened this Pandora's box and told us, you know what, the state has not been able to fund education at this level. And that's why all through there has always been debt. You get? So sometimes the truth is painful. And that's why the moment that was opened up, people were able to run around and be able to say, now that cannot be able to happen. But that was the truth. Because sometimes what governments do, Jagero, is you just cover things and keep moving for as long as, just ensure we keep moving so that people do not know the truth. Now he has made us know that this is the truth. Yeah? And so when you are running against him, you must be able to get people an alternative plan, because now the people know the truth. When you talk about education funding, they'll tell you, okay, so what are you going to do about this? When you talk about what I'm talking about, the SHA, they will still want you to talk about what you will be able to do. And that is going to make, and I'm very excited about that next election, because we might just start the journey away from tribes. The journey, and that needs to also cascade downwards, so that we don't just ask people running for president, but all the way to the MCAs. If we can start having conversations around what the MCA is going to do, what is away from just sloganeering, because most of the time, Jagero, we have elected people in Kenya on the basis of slogans.
Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you very much.
It has been wonderful having you, Mr. Mundalo. Your articulation is top-notch.
Asante.
And I will bring you again to talk about the sins of Maraga.
Together with Joaquim. Together with Joaquim.
Hapo sasa takuwa. Kwa sababu
tutazungumza.
sahihi ametoroka, amesema People.
Mimi, I have no problem.
Thank you very much, people of the internet. This has been Dial.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, people of the
Old
internet.
habits die hard.
Thank you very much, people of the internet. This has been Political Headache.
Yeah.
Remember, politics is about the business of people. So don't be a tomato. If somebody has to buy you, then they have to pay for it. Thank you very much. And until another episode, bye for now. Beautiful. I loved it. The only thing.
Thank you very much.